Okay, so now we're talking about number formatting. And number formatting, we're just going to talk about how Excel treats numbers and how we can, format them, how we can change some things, do a little transformation to numbers in Excel. So I forgot to add initially in the previous video, one of the ways you can also highlight a cell is to click and drag. I mentioned, clicking or control and click. I also mentioned shift and click to select individually. I mentioned shift, control plus shift and direction to select a whole column or a whole row at once. But then there's also the option of right clicking and then dragging, something like this. But that is obviously going to override what you have before, so it's best to use the other ones. All right, now so we're going to let's add a column. This column is going to talk about their transfer fees. So I'm going to insert a column here. I was not supposed to insert. All right, let's see their transfer fee. So transfer fee, or let's just call it weekly salary. All right, so let's just assume for Mercy, let's assume it 2,000, 1,900, 1,950, 2,050. This is 2,500. Because it's like, oh, you can now consider while I'm entering it's changing the format, and that is not what I want. Well, I'm just going to enter everything first of all. Neymar, let's say this one has 2,400. This 1,650 per week. This person has 1,500 per week. This is also 2,000 per week and 3,000 per week. So now, if you look at once I select each of them, if you look at this place, it shows the type. Now, normally when I enter a number here like 70, it should actually be in general. So I'm going to highlight these all salaries, and I've already taught us how to highlight. So I'm just going to hold Control and Shift and arrow down, so it highlights everything. You can see that maybe because probably it's an error from maybe I initially did something on this column before, but you can see that we have it as date format, and that's not what we want. So I'm going to click on this drop down, and you see it's writing number format. Choose the format for your cells. So when I click on this, it's going to show. Now we can put it back to general format. You can see you can put it back to general format, and the original data I imputed is obvious. But there are also different kind of formats, especially special to numbers. I can change this to number and it has decimal. So I can try to leave it like this, but there are other options. We have currency and accounting. They are similar. So in this case, we're talking about currency. It's salary. So I'm going to click on currency and it changes to currency, and you can see that by default it helps me to add dollars. Eventually you don't want dollars, you can actually change the currency symbol here. You might not have all the currencies in the world here, but when you click on this, you can see dollars, the default. We have pounds, we have euro, we have Chinese yen, and Swiss CHF. So I'm just going to leave it in. I'm going to leave it in dollars, right? I'm going to leave it in dollars. That's what we want. So if I click on this, if I click on it again, it just kind of space it and makes it, unlike the way it was looking initially. It was looking kind of choked. I mean, you can leave it like this if you want, but I kind of prefer having it spaced. So to have the currency spaced and separated, that space between, I'm just going to click on this currency here and it spaces it. Now I don't want this decimal place. How do I do that? I could either right click. When you right click, there is format cells. If I click on format cells, you can see a whole lot of other things, just like currently we're on. Initially we're on currency, but after I clicked on this icon, you can see that it has changed to accounting. I can change it from here as well. If I change it back to date, let me look at what happens. If I change it back to date and press OK, you can see that it has gone back to what it was before, and that's not what we want. So I'm going to do that again. Format cells now. Back to accounting. Now when I click on accounting, it's telling me that do I want the decimal places? By default it has 2 decimal places. I can just increase it to 3 or even 4, and I press OK and it comes there. Now if you notice, the currency symbol is there because even from the format, look at format cells now, it's already saying that symbol. What's the currency symbol? None. So I can add it back. Now we have various kind of symbols here, like so many others. You can see that we have so many other kind of symbols here. So we are just going to go with dollars. All right, let's go with dollars, and I press OK. So it's back there. Now we have 4 decimal places. I can either reduce that decimal place from here back to that place and reduce it back to 0. I don't want any decimal place. So this is the sample. If I add it, if I make it 1, you can see 0.0. So I'm just going to make it no decimal place, and I'm going to click OK, and it's looking better. But I mean, all this stress is quite, having to right click on format cells and do that, it could be quite a little overwhelming. So that's why we have them here actually. So instead of having to like do all of those things, let me undo everything and go back to the way. So I could just click on here while I click on currency, and click on this to change it to accounting. It's separated, and I could just reduce or increase the decimal place. You can see. All right, so I could do all of that in just less than 20 seconds instead of having to go through the formatting. So that's why this number section is there, to make it faster for us. So that is, that is one thing you should understand. You should also understand that adding all of this whole thing, this whole formatting does not change the original data. So the original data we have is 1950, and that is what is still here. So all this whole thing, this whole spacing, this whole formatting, decimal point is not affecting the original data you imputed. Now we could also have, other examples. We could also have something like fractions. Let me add something like 10. I could try to do, let's make this okay, let's make it a percentage. That's 1000%. I mean 1. Let me see. Let me change it back. Okay, having just 1. All right, just 1 is like 100%. 1 is like 100%. So I could also make this. If I do 0.5. Okay, I don't want this whole thing. If I do 0.5, that's like average 50%. I can also change the type to fraction as 1/2, right? 0.5 is 1/2. So if I write 1/10, for instance, here, it has changed it to date, which that's not what I want. I want 1/10. Let me take it back to number. Let me see what I have. That's not what I want. Let's pick it as percentage rather. All right. None of this is working. It's actually interpreting it as something else. But like I said here, you can see that here we have 0.5 and it's showing it as 1/2. So you can actually just play with numbers and just convert them to decimal, convert them to fractions and percentage. Once again, I'm going to do 5. I'm going to do 0.5, and I'm going to try to convert it again to, first of all, like convert it to number. It only makes it 2 decimal place. If I change it to currency, which is not what I want, it has the currency symbol. Now if I change it to percentage, 0.5 is 50%. If I change it to fraction, it changes to 1/2. So another thing I want you to also understand is that you can, when a number, for instance, let's assume that I want to write a number that is greater than 11 digits. I'll write 100 trillion, 100 million, 100,000, and 100. So this is 100 trillion, 100 billion, 100,000, 100. So this is like, I don't know how many digits. This is like 12 digits. Look at what it's going to, what I will have here. Okay, I have it. Okay, number. Let me change it back to general. All right, you can see that it gives it in an exponential value, 1.001 exponential 11. So let me just write 1 trillion or something like that. It gives me, now I think by default this, let me format the entire cell first of all and change it back to general, because we already played with it. Everything is being treated as fraction. So now I'm going to, all right, now let me change this to number and see. Okay, back to, all right, let me write it again. 1, this is like 1 trillion, I guess. Okay, I mean, it's just saving it in a way I don't like. All right, but this is what I was actually intending to do. This is what I was intending to do. So this is 1.001 exponential 11. So it's not something that you should worry about actually. So you just understand that sometimes if the figure, the number figure you are inputting is greater than 11 digits, Excel might just change it to exponential. So I have to mention this so that in case you meet something like this and you're not like, what is happening? Why is there an error? It's not an error. It's just a mathematical expression. We call it exponential. So that is basically a few things I feel I should talk about on number formatting. So see you in the next video.